Private equity is acquiring certain kinds of agencies right now for 8 to 10x multiples. But most of the bigger agencies, high revenue, high headcount, they're getting passed over or they're getting 1, 2, 3x.
You can be the biggest bottleneck of your agency. I think it's about how founders can evolve their roles. They try to scale their agency, but that's the actual, you can't scale it with the wrong system. So you have to keep evolving. It's not just about hiring better people because you'll still throttle them.
So what are these family offices or private equity looking for in smaller agencies that the bigger agencies don't have? Jason Swenk has sat on both sides of that table. He explains exactly what agency acquirers are looking for in 2026.
It's freaky about how good it's getting for the ones that build the right framework. Now, AI will not add multiples to your agency if you have bad systems or a bad team, or if everything is depending on you as an owner or a founder, right? But if you have good systems, you have a good team, and then you layer on top AI, you're unstoppable. You have to not relate to yourself as the agency founder, and you can't relate to the agency being your baby. You have to have a identity outside of that. But the more you can drill down, that's wisdom at the very bottom, and wisdom gets paid the most.
Jason sold an 8-figure agency and then built a second one in less than 2 years. He's the founder of Agency Mastery 360 Mastermind, and he's living proof that you can have it all. It just takes a mindset shift, strategy, and the right people. I'm Austin Willman, and this is eCoffee with Expert. Evolving the role as an agency founder, you have a path of progression that you talked about, which ultimately ends with owner. Whether or not you want to sell, you should still have the acquisition or the exit mindset from the start. Where do agency owners or agency founders typically join you in their path of progression? Is it like from the very beginning? Is it halfway through?
It's usually they've been doing that. Well, so the cool thing about kind of this evolution framework is everyone starts off in the same place as a founder, right? We're accidental agency owners. We knew how to do something cool. Someone would offer us money and we were off to the races. Most people fall into operator or manager. An operator is someone that is doing everything within the business. They're doing the sales, they're doing the marketing, they're doing the delivery. And then what happens is you focus on sales for a while, but then delivery goes away. And then you focus on delivery, and then your pipeline is dried. And then it's a constant roller coaster. And then what you start thinking is, man, I got to bring in people. And so you kind of transform into a manager. And this is where a lot of agency founders actually stay. And this is not the good place to stay because they get to a point where they're managing all these people. And then they go, holy cow, how do agencies with 50, 100 to 1,000 people do it? Because everyone's coming to me to what do I need to do? And you can't manage everybody. And when you start looking back, when I look back at my journey, I was the worst manager. I'm still the worst manager. Okay. But I'm a good leader and I hire people under me that can manage themselves. So I give them a direction. I set up systems and approval layers where they know where they're going and what they can do and all that kind of stuff without coming to me for everything. So I can go do Epic Fridays or take off for a month or whatever it is, and things are still operating, right? So, that's where most people stay.
Managing people and being the bottleneck. I hear that so many times, especially around once a business kind of crosses the 7-figure mark. That's typically where I see that friction called kind of the founder trap, stuck between sales and operations. When you mentioned bringing on good people, if anyone is in a mastermind that's not Jason Swenk's, they would hear about, bring on the right people. But it seems like that's such a cliche and it's easier said than done. So what sort of a mindset does the founder have to kind of go through that management layer faster and get to the next layer?
Well, the next layer is the architect, where you're building systems and that leadership layer where people can make decisions without you. So for example, why Agency Mastery exists is we wanted to be a resource I wish I had when I grew the first agency. And why this is important is every single person on my team can make a decision based on that without coming to me and going, Jason, what should I actually do? Right. So it's like a North Star. So think about, you're in a boat from New York to London. I'm driving, right? My whole team's on there. And I
Mm.
get tired after about 10 hours. I'm like, man, Austin, I'm going to go sleep. Wake me up if the boat changes course.
Mm.
Well, if you've ever driven a boat or flown a plane,
Uh-uh.
changes course every second, right? So, but if I just told the team, keep at bearing 240, like keep at that heading,
Mm-hmm.
and if it goes to 241, okay, they can correct it back to 240, right? Like I give them a vision, first of all. The
Mm-hmm.
second part is putting their people on the team that is not your identical twin. That's where I made my mistake in the very beginning, right? We try to
Mm-hmm.
hire a twin, but what you need to try to hire is people that have the similar beliefs or the similar values that you do,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So then if you give them the vision, they have that belief, right? Now they can be that type of person that can make a decision based on what they believe in and the vision that you gave them. So now you start freeing up your time versus like when I built my first agency, I built for many years, I was a prisoner. Like agency owned me. I didn't own it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I just had a title of CEO, but I
Yeah.
wasn't a CEO.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said about the vision that you cast for the people that you bring on the team who are aligned with your values and kind of like your POV, the way you see the world. Like if I'm to operate at my best, I need that sort of flexibility, autonomy, freedom, and direction. And I need a leader who's pulling me toward that vision, not necessarily one that's behind me, pushing me. How do you incentivize people who come on who are more of those, I guess, like maverick type? Maybe they're entrepreneurs, maybe they're intrapreneurs, and you want to bring them on your team because you recognize their value in the marketplace. What's a compelling enough vision or compensation structure to get them to work under you as opposed to going out and starting their own thing?
Well, most of the time, right? They would have started it already.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Okay. There's something holding them back. And a lot of times people, they don't realize how tough it is
Mm-hmm.
to be a founder of a business and to, transition to the true leader and to really kind of get it out of accidental running stage. And so money is not always the biggest thing. They just
Yeah.
want to have a team that like it goes back to there's a Tony Robbins thing of, everyone has like 6 different needs. And then
Yeah.
some people have ranked 2 needs higher than all the other 4, like significance, contribution, love. I can't even remember all of them.
Love, growth. Yeah. I know what you're talking about for sure.
Right. And
But they're
so,
like opposite sides. There's 3 on each, right?
yeah, something like that. Right. And so what I do with my team is not all about just money. It's more about like, are they contributing? Are they feeling that significance? Right?
Mm.
Are they like building something bigger than themselves with a
Mm-hmm.
really cool group of people? And then the biggest thing too, from transitioning from, the mistake managers do, right, is they delegate tasks. Do
Mm-hmm.
this, do this, do this, where they should really start thinking about delegating outcomes.
Mm.
So a lot of times I talk to a founder and they're constantly talking about like, well, I don't know how to do this. And I keep telling my team, like, how do we do this? Right. Like, and like what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the real question is like, who should be doing this?
Mm.
Like there's 2 who's for really getting your agency to a point where you want it to be or getting your role to where you want it to be. It's really like, who do you need to hire, which everyone talks about. But
Mm-hmm.
what no one ever talks about is who do you need to become?
Mm.
Because you evolve throughout your years of running a business. Like you learn something every single day, or you should. Because when I sold my first agency, I thought, and at that time I was holding the agency back. And I
Mm.
got it to a point where I was like, man, I don't know, I'm kind of holding it back. Like I think it could go better with someone else. So I kind of stepped out. But then when I started helping some of my competitors and kind of started agency mastery, then I was like, man, there's so much more that I learned.
Mm.
And if I could go back, I could, right? And so like I never reached the summit, which I call as an agency owner. I only reached
Mm-hmm.
CEO level at the
Mm.
first agency, right? So I think that's one of the things people need to look at rather than, what's my profit and what's
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
how much did I grow or how many people do I have on my team? Those are the vanity metrics.
I think those are the 6 core human needs, 6 basic human needs from Tony Robbins. And the ones that resonate with me are consistency and variety. Those are kind of like the top 2. And the pendulum swings back and forth. If we have too much variety, things get chaotic and we want some more consistency. Maybe then people will join a tribe and then it gets too stifling and they're like, I need some chaos in my life, and then they'll bounce and then, go somewhere
Mine
else.
is not consistency. Mine is the complete opposite from
Same.
consistency.
Same.
All right. Like, it's just like, I get like, if something's the same all the time, I get so freaking bored.
Yes.
And I'm like, I gotta go jump off a cliff or something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm coming with you next time when you go to Moab, by the way.
There you go.
Jump off
Come
that
on.
cliff. So, talking with these agency founders who are striving to be that owner, presumably, you talk with a lot of them now with your new agency or with your new business that's been running for several years now, where you're acquiring these. Agency mastery is part of that, I would imagine, where you're kind of coaching them, helping them install systems. When a founder comes to you and starts to say, hey, this is my path, this is where I want to take it, and Jason, I want your help, what do you see in like the first 5-10 minute conversation that tells you that they're probably not going to get what they want unless they make a bunch of changes? Is there like a one thing? Is it the mindset? Is it the systems they have in place?
They're focusing on the wrong things.
Mm.
They're focusing on top line revenue or how many people they have. Like, there was literally just, I read an article by a Forrester. I think it said like, look, everyone's talking about AI and everyone's doing AI and everybody's freaking out about AI replacing themselves, right? Or we're hurting the agency.
Mm-hmm.
And the mundane agency, the agency that's not adapting, the agency that was not evolving, yeah, they're toast, right? Like, I can create a website in 2 seconds. That is
Yep.
unbelievable. I can write copy and like the stuff, if I showed you of what I was doing with AI, you'd be like, holy cow. Like, I'm constantly blown away every single day. Like, I don't even want to say a tool I'm using now because it's going to be
Yeah.
outdated in an hour. That's how fast it's
100%.
moving.
Yeah.
But the cool thing that's happening in the marketplace, private equity, there's more private equity buying agencies right now than ever before. And they're not looking for what people think they're looking for, right? They think they're looking for, like, the traditional way, the old way is, well, let's just focus on EBITDA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we need. And we just need more and more people to do this. PE firms now are looking for agencies leveraging AI, not using ChatGPT for writing copy and emails and that kind of stuff, right? Like, literally, like, looking at how can I evolve my role faster? How can I evolve every one of my team's role faster, get more efficient, and be able to do things faster? That's adding multiples, like 8 to 10x multiples.
Really?
Yes.
Just that speed component? Or is it like,
Speed.
yeah, speed is huge. And I think based on what I'm seeing, speed is creating a moat from those agencies, like you said, which are not adapting as fast, maybe because they're lost in the operations or that founder trap. And the ones who are lean and they give that autonomy to their team because they have a shared vision and shared values and they trust their people. They say, I trust you, like, go out and explore and try these things and try to make your life better and create a bigger upside for the company. That speed of adoption is exactly what I'm seeing too.
Well, it's too of making decisions. I mean, never ever have we been able to make decisions based on all the data that we have,
Yeah.
right? It's, I mean, it's just, it's freaky about how good it's getting for the ones that build the right framework. Now, AI will not add multiples to your agency if you have bad systems or a bad team, or if everything is depending on you as an owner or a founder, right? But if you have good systems, you have a good team, and then you layer on top AI, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a huge catapult that, because everyone's freaking out going, like, we see the stupid ads out there. People are like, I replaced my ad agency with one person and one tool. I'm like, yeah, you're a tool. Like, just right. Like, and so, and then you hear about the marketplace and all the white collar jobs. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
But with agencies, we're always on the technology forefront.
Yes.
And the ones that control AI and use AI, they're going to be the ones dominating. And yes, there will be a huge gap pretty soon between the upper class and the lower class. Like, there's not going to be a middle class, I don't think.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the coffee and the conversation so far. This show is powered by Digital Web Solutions. And if you've ever wondered how the biggest brands actually build authority, this is it. DWS has a massive network of over 250,000 publishers, real sites that help you rank on Google, and more importantly, stay visible in AI search. It's the heavy lifting most teams just can't do on their own. As a thank you for listening, they're offering an exclusive free strategy call just for our eCoffee listeners. It's a great way to map out your authority plan for 2026. Just click the link below to book yours and see how they can help scale your brand. All right, now let's get back to the show. No, I think you're exactly right. And yeah, going back to that speed. So bringing it back to the founder mindset, if, I hear it all the time, well, this is my baby, this business, I hatched the egg or I birthed a baby and now I'm raising it. There's got to be some ego component that stands in the way of allowing a founder to let the people that they bring on board to run free and make decisions. How do you get that ego out of the way? Even if you can create the systems, there's still, I would imagine.
You have to not relate to yourself as the agency founder, and you can't relate to the agency being your baby. You have to have a identity outside of that. And I struggled with that for many years, right? So when I got to a point where I did get to the CEO level, right? And so I had basically 4 or 5 roles. So I set the vision, communicated to the team all the time, but be the face of the organization, set the strategic partnerships, understand the financials, right? And then coach and mentor my leadership team so they can be better and so they can evolve. When I was able to achieve that, I thought when I was thinking about those roles as I was creating, right? I was like, man, if I can get to this, it'd be awesome. I go play tennis, I go race cars, I don't have to be in the office all the time. They don't need me for all the stuff that I'm doing now. Well, what happens when you actually achieve that? You go into a creative meeting. No, Jason, I'm good. You go into a sales meeting. No, I'm good. Go into a marketing meeting. No, I'm good. Go into operations meeting. No, I'm good. You're like, oh shit, the agency doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
And then you get depressed because now that significance that Tony Robbins talks about is gone.
Yeah.
Because you relate yourself to that agency founder or that agency owner, and that's your whole identity. So when you get close to selling your agency, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to sell my identity, which happened to me too. I was depressed. I actually even went to a Tony Robbins event, walked on fire, thought it was fake after I sold my agency. Right. And then I realized that's not my role. And then I realized the agency needed me for the new role, things that no one else could do that only I could do. Right. And then I got that significance back. Right. And then you get closer to selling that agency and you're like, dude, this is it's just a company. It's monopoly. It's a game. I don't even care if the agency crashes. If it crashes, okay, I build another one, start over.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you think of it as a game. I mentioned to you working with Eric Sue, and he is all about gamification. I think he even wrote a book called Level Up, and that's part of his, that's a side effort of his, maybe not a side effort, but yeah, thinking of things as a game, but also having your identity outside of the agency. You're the type of person who installs operating principles and systems to get the business to run without you. What sort of operating systems do you have for your life outside of the business so you don't lose that significance?
Well, I think it's more about controlling your time, right? I have a system around time and when I'm actually going to work. I'm always working in my head. It's just, right? So when I tell people I work, 10 to 20 hours a week, right? And most of the time it's 10 hours a week. That's really in meetings, but my mind's constantly going. Okay. So that's never going to shut off if you're, a true founder, right?
Yeah.
But what I've done is, and this is, you have to find, there was a cool story. I remember listening to Charles Barkley, he plays basketball, NBA, greatest commentator. I love him.
Yeah.
Charles, if you listen to the podcast, I love you, right?
I'll send it to him.
Yeah, there you go. But he tells a story about when he joined the 76ers as a rookie, and he wasn't getting much playing time. And he went to one of the veterans, Moses Malone, I think it was. And he's like, man, I'm not playing much, right? And he's like, well, because you're fat and lazy. And so what Moses did is said, hey, lose 10 pounds a week. Every week, Charles would come, lose 10 pounds, and he'd feel better. He was like, man, I'm playing better. And then one week he lost another 10 pounds and played a little weak, right? He's like, okay, we found your fighting weight. That's the same thing we need to do as agency founders to figure out what's our time weight. Okay. So how much time, if you work a week and you're like, man, I am exhausted. I just beat this shit. I don't want to ever go back to work. that's too much. Or if you work a week and you're completely bored, right? So you
Mm,
have to find your fighting weight like Charles did. And so
mm,
what worked for me, and it took me many years to figure this out, basically I would go back and audit my calendar and I'd be like, what drains me? What gives me energy? And so what I started doing is I never do, other than we're recording this on a Monday. So you're my only meeting today.
nice.
But most of the time, I don't do any meetings on Monday,
Hmm.
but I do work and I kind of set up for the week. Most of my meetings are Tuesday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Mm,
And then Fridays, I go do something epic. Weekends, I'm with the family, right? So that's how I identify. I don't
yeah.
identify as an agency advisor or podcaster. Like I never tell people that. I'm like, identify, like as father, husband, adventurous,
Yeah.
innovative, that kind of stuff versus like what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. This fighting weight concept or the fighting time, I suppose, I haven't heard that before. And with AI, I mean, from what it sounds like, you are absolutely loving the ability to develop and create and honestly, like just connect what's in your head and get it out into the world much faster. Eric said something about this. He's like, most founders I know are not working less because of the efficiency of AI is able to take their jobs. They're actually working more because of AI, but they're having way more fun doing that. How are you bridging the gap between like, is this work or is this exploratory fun play? Yeah. How do you bridge that?
Well, I've put myself like, and I've told my team this too, like I'll do agency mastery until I'm just bored
Mm,
and then it goes away.
hmm.
Um, so I don't treat it as work. Now there's
Yeah.
some days that I'm pissed off and I'm like, this sucks. Right. But if there's like multiple weeks that is happening, then that's when
Hmm.
I'll have that conversation with myself going, why am I doing this anymore? Like, let's go buy a laundromat or what? I don't know. Do something else, right? Be a painter, be a Bob Ross painter, right?
Yeah.
Happy,
Yeah.
little happy
Yeah.
tree, little happy brush over here. But like, I don't treat it as work. Like I love doing podcasting. I love creating content. I love, connecting and watching founders get that click in their head and then be like,
Mm,
right? And they get that one little thing because most people are like inches away from success, but
mm,
they feel miles apart, right? And they just need that little thing that they just can't see. I love being that kind of little switch for them to be like, and then get to a point where they can sell their agency or even if they don't have to sell their agency, they love their role that they built around what they
yeah.
wanted.
Yeah. The catalyst to get them to understand that maybe it's just a mindset shift, a redefinition of what success means. Maybe it's not a multiple, maybe it's not margin, maybe it's not a team size, but maybe it's that fighting time or that, ideal weight, fighting weight that you have that's actually success. And you can show them that you're already 90% of the way there, dude. Like you just have to let go of something. Maybe that's the next question is what do you find that it's hard to standardize, I suppose, or like average it out. But if you were to notice a pattern or a trend, if there's one thing that agency owners should just let go or like just drop it and they would have a much better life and a much better business.
Well, I think they got to let go one thing at a time. And I think the way to do that is figuring out what's your strength. Focus on the strength. Don't focus on the weakness. Like hire for your weakness,
Hmm.
right? And so if you're better at sales, hire someone to run operations. If you're better at operations and you don't like talking to people, well, then switch it up, right? And it's like once you get those key hires, right? And there's not you don't have to have many of them. That's the
Hmm.
beauty about it, right? Like, our agency was over 100 people. I could reproduce that agency with like 8 or 10.
Yeah. Now.
And that's going down in numbers now. Just
Yep.
the more months of it we go in with some of the things. Like there's tools out there that, it blows my mind every time
Yeah.
I look at it. I'm like, dang, dude, like that's pretty cool. But I think the curious and the people that are not afraid of it, they'll dominate it. The ones that are afraid and they hold on to like, here's the other deal, right? Like when I sold the agency, I didn't have to work again. Okay. And I started making decisions differently.
Hmm.
And then it was easier to grow a business.
Mm.
And I always thought like those people that had money and they go, oh, don't make decisions based on, I was like, oh, because you got money, jackass.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a real thing,
Yeah.
right? Like we're focusing on the wrong thing. And so a lot of times I have a mastermind member come to me and they're like, Jason, the agency didn't grow this year.
Mm,
It's like, okay, well, tell me more. And they're focusing on the top line revenue. I said, what about the profit? Oh man, we
mm,
made extra 500,000 in net profit. Okay. Tell me, how many hours did you work last year? 80. How many you worked this year? 40.
hmm.
What am I missing? Like, and
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, okay. Right. And I'm like, who cares if the agency doesn't grow on the
Yeah.
top line? You're focusing on the wrong numbers. They're like, but I want to sell. I want to show this huge growth,
Mm,
which I just told you guys. PE firms are looking for smaller agencies that are extremely efficient, fast, profitable, that kind of stuff, right? Like
mhm.
it's not about the huge headcount anymore. And the more specialized you are, the better.
Tell me a little bit more about that. That was a road that I wanted to go down. What are PEs looking for now? They're not looking for full service digital agencies.
No,
They're maybe looking for more niche services or industry focused or, I
no.
mean, there's all types of reasons why a firm would want to acquire an agency, but like in general, it sounds like you have some patterns.
It's more about solving a problem,
Mm,
being a solution provider. If you think there's a couple different types of agencies, right? I'm not going to say like SEO and that kind of stuff. There's the ones that are the order takers. These are
mhm.
the barrel, the bottom of the barrel. These are the ones that will be replaced by AI and people using AI because
Yep.
they're order takers. You're working, tell me what you want to do. I'll give you an output. I can go over to Gemini or Claude or whatever, get a better result a lot quicker and a lot
Yeah.
less. Right. Then there's the agencies that are a little bit more specialized, right? For a particular maybe service like pay per click or
Mhm.
SEO or getting people for, the stupid people making up geo. It's SEO for AI.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you know who you are,
Yeah.
people that are doing that. Okay. Like, stop trying to make up dumbass
Yeah.
terms.
It's
It really
just
pisses me
SEO.
off. Right. And then the top of the echelon are the strategic partners. These are the
Mhm.
ones that clients come to for problems to solve, and then they
Mm.
go solve them,
Mhm.
right? Like, so those are the ones that will dominate. So if you're
Yeah.
more of a solution provider, not just saying a solution provider and we're full
Yeah.
service and like we know who the full of shit people are for that, right? But like truly, like, are you solving? And I'm talking about like, I used to work for Arthur Anderson and Accenture, right? Like
Mhm.
those were the solution providers back in the day.
Mm,
You don't have to be that big anymore. You
mhm.
can be a lot smaller and be a solution provider.
Mhm. So does that lead into, let's say there's a couple founders that I know that also act as a fractional CMO, let's say. And so they're doing kind of the consulting, the strategy, the, I guess short term or project based
Yeah.
guidance, but then they
That's
can say, hey,
operators. Those are
okay, those are
operators. Because
as a,
the
mhm,
business is dependent on them.
yeah.
Now, what I would do if I were them and I
Hmm.
was acting as the fractional CMO for the clients, I would build systems and a leadership layer in order to do that within the agency that would be more scalable outside of you.
Hmm.
Now that's worth something. Because if I'm going to buy an agency and the
Hmm.
founder is acting as a fractional CMO and he or she is doing the strategy and some of the execution and managing, I'm like, well, that guy's going to be pissed when I buy him. He's going to leave and then I'm
Yeah.
screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the fractional CMO, let's say they are operating their own agency, but that is kind of like the lead source, if you will. They say, hey, I can consult your brand, but if you want us to actually execute, I do have a agency for that. I guess
Think
that's
about
the,
Gary Vaynerchuk and VaynerMedia. That's
yeah.
how I would do it, right?
Yep.
You're the face of the organization. Gary is not managing the project. He
Hmm.
is not going to be on the engagement at all
Hmm.
whatsoever, right? But he is the face of it.
Hmm.
He is the agency owner.
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads me into personal brand. There was a gentleman who I interviewed who grew his agency basically from like $4,000 a month to $50,000 a month. Maybe it was more than that. Regardless, he did it all through TikTok lives. He just jumped on TikTok live and taught marketing. And he grew his agency like crazy. And then they were acquired by a larger agency. And he now is the head of growth. And basically, his role is to continue doing that. And obviously, he has stake in the company and equity and
Yep.
everything like that. How are you seeing personal brand knowing that operators, if they can do that, it's one of the, that is a very viable way to gain business for your agency these days is to have yourself as a personal brand, but you need to build that layer, is what it sounds like, to almost separate the two. How do you bridge that gap?
Well, you should definitely. And here's the mistake I did at the first agency. I
Mm,
never built my personal brand. I just
mm,
built the agency brand.
yeah.
People don't trust brands, right? Because they don't know and like and trust you, right? Like if someone follows me on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
They know I like hiking mountains and mountain biking and go and do epic stuff and being outdoors and right, like and having fun. And so you start associate if you like that stuff, you start associating that with me and you're like, okay, I know that person.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times when people join on our mastermind, they've been listening to the podcast for years and years. So
Mhm.
there's no selling, right? There's only like, here's what I got. Do I like you? Okay. Yeah, I like you. Come on in, right? Like there's no selling on that part.
Mm.
And when people go, well, I don't want to build a personal brand because then everybody will want to work with me. Well, you just got to create the rule, dummy. Like just say like front. Like I would
Yeah.
literally go, look, you don't want me managing your project because I got ADD and I'm all over
Mhm.
the place. I hardly check my email, right? But Jessica is amazing, or Stacy, she's always on it. Like you're gonna love, like you prop your team up
Mhm.
and you tell them this is the system, and if that doesn't work for you, go somewhere else,
See ya. Yeah.
right? Like, and the perfect example is Gary Vaynerchuk,
Yeah.
right? He could sell VaynerMedia for a lot of money right now,
Yeah.
okay, and that was built on his brand, personal brand
Yeah.
brand will draw people in, and then you just have to
Mhm.
have the systems and the willingness to say no on your part.
Mm. Say no to clients that want to work specifically with you, and you say no
No,
because you
you
pass them to
create
the team?
rules. Yeah, you create rules. Be like, look, you're
Yeah.
not going to work with me personally,
Mm.
but I
Mm.
can ensure you my team knows everything I do and probably a lot better. I've set up the framework. Everything that drew you to me, we
Mhm.
execute on. We do. Okay, cool.
And I would imagine that brings the right kind of clients to you where you no longer have to, or a lot, you deal with clients that you hate a lot less if they're aligned on your values, the way you see the world.
Well, there's no such thing as a bad agency client. There's only a bad prospect or a bad process. And
Mm.
most of the time, when you have issues at your agency, it's a bad prospect that you let in, or your
Mhm.
process sucks and you need to
Mm.
fix that. That's the two things. That's it. It's not like
Mm.
a prospect tricked you.
Yeah.
You didn't have the systems in order to vet that prospect yet to figure out,
Mm.
are they going to be a bad client? Right. Like, or,
Mm.
that client asked for something crazy and you missed the deadline and now your team hates you and all this. Like, well, that was a bad process, right? Like you got to
Yeah.
look for the root causes. Like it's not, I think we always are looking for the shiny red object. We're like, oh, how do I get more leads? The
Mhm.
answer is not more leads. The answer is the answer is not always how do I get more clients? It's about getting the right clients
Mhm.
and delivering the right things. Like that goes back to the kind of the system one of like clarity.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who do I want to work with? Like I always tell people, if you're going to be paid on performance only, who would you
Mm.
do it for? And what would you do?
Mm.
That should
I
tell
like
you
that question.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't be everything. Yeah.
No.
Niching down. Yeah. Niching down, it sounds like is just table stakes. Like if you're not niche, if you're trying to offer everything to everybody, you can't answer that performance based model question.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, look, the thing that they're scared of scaring people away from niching down,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
which causes them to pay you peanuts because you're not a
Mm.
specialist. But
Mm-hmm.
the more you can drill down, like in this, fake funnel I'm holding up, right?
Yeah.
That's wisdom at the very bottom, and
Mm.
wisdom gets paid the most.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As we wrap up the conversation here, Jason, thank you for taking a call with me on a Monday on the day off when you should be doing, jumping off of a ledge or something. I'm curious with everything that we've talked about today. We have agency exits on the horizon. PE is looking for different things, AI implementation. The barrier to entry to achieving marketing results is coming down because of the tools are so easily wiping things out. I mean, Google just dropped Stitch like less than a week ago, and now there's like designers and there's so many things that are just breaking the walls down. What do you think is the true moat for agencies in 2026 and beyond?
Having that clarity of where you want to go and who you want to help. That's the first step. It goes back to that conversation of, you're in a boat from New York. Well, where do you want to go? You can go anywhere. And do you want to go around the Atlantic Ocean like, like
Yeah.
a spider web? Or do you want a straight line or somewhat of a straight line? Because look,
Yeah.
you're going to get across and you're going to be like, let me kind of change course a little bit, right? And you should be able to change course. And I think
Hmm.
everyone's focusing on like all this stuff, like they're focused on all changing things. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the wrong thing to focus on. I think you should focus on the things that are not going to change that in the future. What is that? People like dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
People want to hear from people. Like if you're trying to automate everything, like those
Mm-hmm.
stupid idiot people on Facebook and TikTok of going, I just replaced my agency with one prompt,
Yeah. Okay. First of all.
one prompt, and all you have to do is comment one prompt,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and you're gonna make it, right? Like, they're just focused on stupid stuff, right? So I
Yeah.
think, all the people listening to this, I just say that because I know you guys are all laughing at that part.
Yeah. Yeah. We know. We see it.
Yeah, the people that fall for it are the ones that they haven't grown up yet.
Yeah.
They're still on the chain of evolution, they're still like the humpback
Yeah.
monkey, right?
Still have a lot of hair on them on their back
That's
and
right.
arm.
They're walking on all fours. They're not walking yet.
Draggers, is that what we call them? I don't know if that's
That's it.
politically correct to say.
I don't know. You said it, not me.
I said I'll take the flack. Editing team, hello. Just kidding. So, last question here: if we do have an agency founder who's listening to this and they are feeling lost, they're feeling overwhelmed by the changes that are happening. They know they need a straight line. They know they need to be more clear about what they want, who they want to work with, and what value they bring to the table. What's your recommendation for the first 1 to 2 things or steps or questions that they need to ask themselves literally today before they take another step that will help them clarify that?
I think take a sheet of paper out, like 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Put your fist on it, draw a circle around your fist. And then for about a half hour, focus on all the shit you're doing now that you never want to ever do again. Write that outside the circle. Then after about 30 minutes of just brain dumping, and I don't care about spelling or grammar, just write it all down. Then after about 30 minutes, just write down what gives you energy. Put that inside the circle. Now you
Mm,
just designed your agency around you. And then you can start asking the right questions to build that versus building an agency based on what someone else tells you.
mhm,
Like, look, I tell everybody in the mastermind that the most joy I get is when people in the mastermind have different viewpoints and different ways to get there. And I always
mhm,
tell everybody, there's no silver bullet, but there's a bunch of silver out there that you can make your own silver bullet. And so you just got to kind of piece little things together and going, okay, I like this. I like that. I like this. I don't like that. Let me kind of make my own silver bullet in order
mm,
to shoot where you're trying to go. Because look, your path is going to be very different than mine. I
mhm.
started my agency in '99 and sold it in 2012 and started a new one 10 years later, right? Like there's so many different variables that make up my whole story. If you try to emulate that, you're going to fail. You have to build your own the way you want it, but you can take these little bits and pieces. But
Mm,
you have to have that clarity of where you're going or have someone help you see the bottleneck,
yeah.
which is you, right? And that's what we're really good at is like helping people figure out what's the bottleneck and how do they evolve past that.
And a big part of that is just acting as kind of the mirror that reflects the corners that the agency founder can't see for themselves. I mean, it sounds
Well, do
like,
you remember?
yes,
I don't know if you're old enough on this. Did you ever
thank you.
go to the mall and used to look at those paintings that if you look a certain way, you'd see 3D like shapes in them? Do you remember those?
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kinda how I look at it,
Yeah.
is, like, someone from the outside, I can look and go, "Oh, that" like, if you know how you can draw, like, a 3D square, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh
Draw a
huh.
square and then do it. You can look at there's depending if you're right brain or left brain, you can look at it and be like, Which is the front, left or right?"
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
could
Uh
switch it
huh.
back and forth. That's kinda how I look at it.
Maybe it was Gary Vaynerchuk or Alex Hormozy or some other, internet marketing guru celebrity type of deal that said one of the most important skills in the future is pattern recognition, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because that's essentially what AI does is like just recognize patterns. But yeah, finding the pattern in your own life, I think is what you're saying. Like
Mhm.
historically, where have I felt the most alive in flow, where my
Yep.
awareness and activity just merge. I lose my sense of name and everything. Find those times, and then everything else is kind of like, how can I create the systems to
Well,
empower somebody else?
they think about the hard work in front of them in the short term. Versus the long, painful it's kinda like, let's say you had a thorn in your foot,
Hmm.
and, it's kind of a thorn, like, you're running a race, a long marathon race, and you're like, "Ah, just leave it in." But you're gonna kind of limp more on the left one
Yeah.
if the thorn's in the right one, which is gonna hurt your knee, which is gonna make you go slower and probably not get to your destination, versus if you just took 5 minutes, take the damn thorn out,
Yeah.
fix it, run it, you can run faster, you'll finish the race.
With less pain,
Yeah. Like,
hopefully.
you just they put it off. I
Yeah.
hate, like, and that's one of my biggest things when someone joins our community and I get onto them, and sometimes I'll be like, I'll ask them to leave if they're not, fulfilling their bargain. I'll be like, "Look, I always told you, when you have a problem, you gotta come to us, let us know about it, let us help you, versus
Mm,
just putting it off and then you coming to us like with the world's ending." I'm like,
mm.
"The world didn't end overnight.
Yeah.
It was a slow buildup."
Yeah. Yeah. Communicate early and often. So you're mentioning Agency Mastery 360. It's an application only community for agency founders who are looking to scale. They want to build their life around or their business around their life and not vice versa. Why is it application only? And what do you look for in the application?
It's just like who I'm hiring. Like, every year for our members, we do what we call like this digital agency experience. And it used to be at my house in Colorado.
Mm,
And so I always told my team, the people that we let in, that you have to ask the question because they're doing the interviews. Would you eat dinner with them? Would you let them in your house?
mm,
Would you want to hang out with them? Would you want to go on a road trip with them? Do they have similar beliefs? The same criteria that I use for hiring people, I do the same for the mastermind and the community. Because when
mm,
you can put the right people in the right room, magic stuff happens versus just, "Oh, you got a paycheck or you got some money, you wanna, like, do it?" Like, that's just, like, those groups have never worked for me,
yeah.
and I've always wanted to keep my groups small and be more intimate where everyone can get to know each other and that kinda stuff. So, that's, I don't know about other groups. I don't really
Yeah.
kinda pay too much attention. I don't even watch
Yeah.
the news. I didn't even know we were at war, until someone told me yesterday.
Right? I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I mean, obviously, you're very successful. You have sold an agency. You're building a second eight-figure agency. You surpass, eight figures in less than 2 years. You don't need the money. You want the right people around you. And that just goes back to what you said earlier in the conversation, where it's either a prospect problem or a process problem. Like, since you've solved those two, I think that application sort of process is just a perfect example of that. So let that be known to the listeners that you don't have to work with people you don't want to anymore. The world is huge. Make your
Yeah.
choice. Right. I'm going to do that exercise, writing my, circling my fist and
Yeah.
doing that today. Yeah. So, Jason, we can find you at Agency Mastery 360. We're going to link to that. We can link to jasonswank.com. You're active on LinkedIn. How do you prefer people engage with you if they do want to learn more?
Just go to agencymastery360.com. We put out 2 podcasts a week called the Smart Agency Masterclass. I put out a video on YouTube a week as well. So we put out a lot of content, and we only try to put out great content versus just be, time to make the donuts.
Yeah. Although donuts are great. So, wouldn't
Yes,
be mad
that's
if you
it.
did.
Do you remember that commercial?
No. What is that?
Dunkin' Donuts?
No.
It's a great
Maybe I am
commercial.
too young for that one.
You are too young for that one. You look it up on YouTube. It's awesome. It's like the guy's just making the donuts. It's the consistency, the mundane. He's like, "Time to make the donuts."
Oh,
It's pretty funny.
America runs on Duncan, but this guy doesn't run at all. So,
That was like the
Jason
first
Swenk,
Dunkin' commercial.
was it? Oh
Mhm.
man, oh man, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna look it up. I have some homework to do. Jason Swenk, thank you for being here. You've been a great guest. I hope people reach out to you and learn more about your world, just as I did. And we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.